Morning, everyone. I'm now going to call to order the Norfolk County Commissioners meeting of Friday, February 15th. This meeting is held as regularly scheduled, a special scheduled meeting, and it's held under the emergency provisions of the open meeting law. On Thursday, March 12, 2020, Governor Baker issued an order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. General Chapter 30A, Section 20. That order was effective immediately until rescinded or until the state of emergency is terminated. I'm going to take a roll call. Commissioner Collins.
Present.
Commissioner Stady.
Present, Mr. Chairman.
We have a quorum. The item on the agenda today's meeting is the Energy Management Service Agreement for a ground-mounted solar system with energy storage located at 1377 North Street, Walpole, between the County of Norfolk and the Kearsarge Walpole LLC. Before we get into the motion or discussion with the commissioners, I'm going to call on our legal counsel, Scott Lopez, for a brief overview. Counselor.
Thank you, Commissioner Shea and Chairman Shea. So the contract that's being presented to you today is the culmination of over 4 years of efforts of the county and working with Kearsarge Energy, with Andrew Bernstein, to come up with a program that will help reduce the county's carbon footprint and also save thousands of acres of trees and prevent thousands of tons of CO2 to enter into the atmosphere. I couldn't have done this without the incredible efforts of Mike Mullen, of Nancy Rockwell, and Joe McNichols. They have been instrumental in getting us to this position. We have, throughout the process, tried to comply and have complied with all the general laws and also with the regulations of DOER, which is the Department Office of Energy Management, Energy Resources. This has been a long process. We have tried throughout to do what's in the best interest of the county, what's in the best interest of the school, what's in the best interest of the town of Walpole, and what's in the best interest of Massachusetts, and in essence, the world, by reducing the county's carbon footprint. So I would wholeheartedly recommend that the contract be signed by the county commissioners at this important meeting. Today is the last day that it can be signed in order to comply with the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 34, Section 14. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions of legal counsel Lopez?
Nice job, Scott.
I may have a question later, Mr. Shea, after I'm allowed to speak.
Sure.
So I'll ask Scott to stay tuned.
I'm sorry, what was that, Richard?
I'd ask him please to stay and not leave the meeting, please, if he would.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay, on the motion, commissioners, do you have any other questions or any motions at this time?
I'll make a motion.
All right, go ahead, Peter. Yeah.
Yes, Peter.
All right, so Dick, I'll make the motion and we can do discussion after the motion. If it's seconded, we can do discussion after that.
That's appropriate, absolutely.
So I'll make the motion that the Board of County Commissioners okay. My motion is that the Board of County Commissioners, by the power conferred by Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 34, Section 14, for good and valuable consideration, hereby votes to execute the Energy Management Services Agreement, EMSA, for a ground-mounted solar system with energy storage on certain parcels of land set forth in said agreement located at 1377 North Street, Walpole, Mass, by and between the County of Norfolk and Kearsarge Walpole LLC.
I'll second that motion again for the purpose of this, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Motion made and seconded. Discussion among the commissioners.
Sure, Dick, do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first?
You're the senior member. I'll always defer to you, Mr. Collins. Certainly, go ahead. With all respect.
Okay, senior in terms of service only. I mean, I'm a little bit younger than you, Dick. Okay,
I can't see you. I can't tell. But okay, go ahead.
That's right. Okay, so how do we get here? It's been a long process. As Scott said, it's been more than 4 years, and I think it should be known that this wasn't an idea that was put forth by the county commissioners, and it wasn't an idea put forth by the trustees at the agricultural high school. This is an idea for solar that came to us by the teachers at the Aggie and by the students at the Aggie. They wanted us to go solar, and they recognized that their carbon footprint at the Aggie was massive. And when you think about it, it truly is, because we have several buildings. The electrical alone is huge. Hi, Liz. And so the electrical is huge. Our use of natural gas for the for heating the buildings and all, that's huge. The oil that we use in the buildings is huge. The gasoline engines for the different mechanical devices on the premises. You have all the farm equipment. They're all moving around with gas engines. The kids just getting to and from school, they're on the school buses. They're getting to and from school in cars. The teachers are going to and from school in cars. The kids are traveling from the school to other schools and to different places on different trips and sporting events. And when you add it all, oh, and as Mike McFarland said in one of our meetings, the methane from the cows, it's huge. And so when you add all these things together, the carbon footprint at the Aggie is massive. And so when initially this proposal was brought forward to the trustees about going forward with solar, I was a big solar proponent. I had solar on my house. And I know other individuals who are trustees have solar on their house. They believe in solar. It's clean energy, clean air, leads to clean water, and you're keeping all those emissions from the air. It's a good idea. And so for me, that was enough. We did hear that with this proposal from Kearsarge, there would be some assistance to the Aggie in terms of their energy bills, which are massive. And the Aggie has financial concerns. The Aggie's doing fine, the county's doing fine, but money is always tight in government. And so having not to pay for electricity and maybe some additional money to come back to the county and to the Aggie was just a perk for me. But really the main driver for me was, just as Scott had said, you hear every single day, think globally, act locally, and help preserve what we have in our environment. And our environment is every single day. If you open the globe, if you watch the news, you hear about global warming, and our climate is getting out of control, and it's potentially devastating for the entire world. We're at a tipping point. I hear it every single day. And the United States government wants to go green by 2050. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts wants to be green by 2050, and they actually just signed a big agreement to try to be greener now. The town of Walpole is proposing being a green community. So we're just, working with our students and working with our teachers to meet the same goals that the town of Walpole wants, that the state wants, and the country wants, and the world wants, to have a safe place to live. And when you think about it, we're an agricultural high school. The environment is of our primary concern. It really is. We have to be keepers of the environment. And it was difficult for me in that many people were saying that the county commissioners or the trustees were trying to do this as a money grab. It wasn't meant that in that way at all. We're trying to do the right thing for our environment. At least I am. I'll speak for myself. At least I am, and that's my goal. So I know this was a long process. We've done our best to listen to the people who were concerned about what this meant in their neighborhood and what it meant to their views as they're driving along the road. And we've done our best to minimize it. And in talking with Mike and in talking with with our council, and I'm fine with this motion. I'm fine with moving forward. I did want to have, doesn't have to be written into the agreement, but it's going to happen, is that for this is what I'm pushing too. So for every non-sapling tree that's cut down as a result of this, and there are some small strands of trees that are going to come down, not the mature pine or anything like that. But for every non-sapling tree that has to be taken down, I'm insisting that 2 trees be planted. I guess that makes me a tree hugger, but I'm an environmentalist in this, and I think this is the right thing to do. And it's come a long way for us to be here. And now that we're here, I wish to go forward with the motion. So Dick, it's over to you.
Okay. Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Stady.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Peter, you touched upon some very good points and similar things I'll be talking about, but I'm going to go a little more than that, with all due respect. I follow different people on social media. One of them is a former student of mine who actually is the weather person in New York City. His name is Lee Goldberg. And coincidentally, he posted this morning the NOAA report that reported that 2020 was the second hottest summer, or second hottest year in the history of our planet. Now, what does that tell us? It tells us we're burning up. It tells us we're in trouble. It tells us that not only we are in trouble, but our children and our children's children are in trouble unless we do something. Now, I think over the course of the 2 weeks I've been in office, and obviously you have more history on this than I do, I've observed a few things, I've seen a few things, and I've tried to separate fact from fiction. And again, not to be redundant, but to expedite a little bit, certainly the project has the basis of reducing the carbon footprint, no question. And certainly it's looking, which I think is consistent with what Mr. Shea and I both said during our campaign, to generate alternative revenues. This is not a bailout. Anybody who says that is doing a disservice to themselves and to our county. It's not a bailout. Norfolk County is not going bankrupt. We are doing this for finding other revenue because, quite frankly and honestly, the state is going to cut local aid. Last year, many communities got through. How they did it was because they had surplus free cash. I know in my own town we did, and you go across Norfolk County, everybody used up their free cash. Well, it's gone. It's gone. And if they cut the local aid, and there's a good chance they will, we're going to be in trouble. We're going to be facing problems this spring in terms of actual layoffs. Not a threat, it's a reality. So it behooves us. We are responsible to make sure we can find other sources of revenue. But please don't use it as a bailout. We're not looking to bail out the county on the backs of solar panels. In addition to the revenue we get, what's lost also is the energy credit. The school will get an energy credit. The county will get an energy credit. And in addition, the town of Walpole will be getting a tax generated revenue, which again, certainly, I think would hope offset the loss of revenue in local aid. So all these things make me go in the direction of saying, you know what, I feel good about this. I want to vote for this. I think we've addressed the problems with the trail. I think we've done an awful lot of other work in terms of meeting with teachers and collaborating with very, very important people. And to be quite frankly, if we were bringing together the Fisher project this morning, which I know we're not, but I'd be ready to vote for this and say, let's go. I'm fine. You collaborated enough. You brought some important people in. You listened. You made changes. And I feel good about that. I can't honestly say that this moment, 2 weeks into this office, I feel completely sold on this project as presented. And I mean this with no disrespect. I want to make sure that Andrew and others know that I appreciate their time and their effort. But I want to point out a couple of things. First, from a legal viewpoint, I'm sure there's an easy fix, but I didn't see anything in the contract that I reviewed. I didn't see anything about the Kearsarge or the contractor paying for the hay. Now, the hay is an important component. It's not in there. I read it cover to cover. There's nothing in it that says it. I hear they're going to do it. That's great. I hear a lot of things as a lawyer, but unless it's in writing, I can't say that we're going to be protected. And we have an obligation to protect us on that. Kearsarge said in a couple of ways they would offset the loss of hay. Fine, but I'd like to see it in writing. And if that's the case, if we have to amend this contract, let me go a little further with a couple of suggestions I respectfully offer as a way to compromise. I think the Hilltop site is a usable site. It's not ideal, but I think it's too big. It's just too big. When I looked at it, I kept looking at it, and talking to other people and even walking it myself, I would like to see it scale back. So here's what I would suggest. Yeah, I would vote for this project today if I can get this worked into. Peter has offered that somebody plants a couple of trees. Let me ask in the form of an addendum, and give me a minute to finish. And that's why I asked council to stay on. I'd like to see an addendum to the contract that would outline the following things in terms of moving forward. Yes, we can go forward on this contract, but I would like to see the plan scale back to no more than 10 to 12 acres, no more than that. I think by doing that, we'll be able to create a reasonable boundary and distance from the neighbors, especially in that southern area where I think it's Mrs. Kennedy, that farm who's, I think is only providing her 120 feet. We can give her more of a buffer. And even the people on North Street that have concerns, we can give them more of a buffer. Now, Kearsarge has an obligation and they have to make up the difference. How can we do that? I can do it 3 ways. There are some there were some buildings on the Aggie school itself that were not being utilized. I think we need to look at that again. The reasons given, they really didn't seem to be, let's say they weren't appropriate. I think we should take a second look at all the buildings and utilize all the roofs as best we can. In addition, I think there's some county property. I mentioned one to Andrew already. The county golf course, not the course itself, but the parking lot. You could put easily put a carport there. And actually, I think of the registry. The land behind the registry of deeds is a huge area that we could put a carport on. Huge, that we could generate electricity. So I would say that we work with Kearsarge, and they work with us, and allow us to explore other options in the county to offset the loss he'll have by scaling this project back. I want to emphasize that I am a proponent for solar. I believe in solar. It's the way to go. But I don't want to do something in excess of valuable land that will be tied up for the next 20 years. I don't think that's quite the direction we want to go. I say that respectfully, and again, acknowledging all the hard work that you put in, Commissioner Shea and Collins. You know, I'm a newcomer on this, but that's where my viewpoint as a zoning attorney and as a new commissioner, I will vote for this, but only under those changes. If those can't be incorporated, then with all due respect and with regret, I'll have to vote against it. And I will assure you, though, that I will do everything I can to work for this to be adopted at any level. I can vote for something and not differ with you, but I always will try to be a team person, and that's the way we should be as we serve our government. So I hope I've made myself clear. I hope I didn't leave anything out. Oh, I did leave something out. Forgive me. It's important. And Scott, this is probably for you. In addition, on the addendum, in an effort to preserve open space, I would like to see us also place, as a measure of good trust and good faith, a restrictive easement and covenant on a size of land in a minimum of 10 acres that we own at this site, the site to be determined. And again, this would be in a way to offset whatever land we're going to use for the solar. It's a sign to the people of Walpole and to our county that this land will be kept open in perpetuity. So the 3 things I'm trying to say in summary is let's scale it back. Let's preserve some open space with a restrictive covenant. Let's get the hay language in there, by all means, put that in there. And again, let's explore some other places in the county that perhaps may not be quite detrimental and help Kearsarge go forward. And thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you.
Joe,
Thank
if I
you.
can jump back in,
Peter?
Joe. Yeah.
Yes.
So, Dick, I get it. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're always incredibly well spoken, so I'd love to listen to you.
Thank you.
I don't know. I don't know if there's time
Yeah.
if we have to do written amendments to the agreement and our meetings here at 10, and this has to be voted on by today, because today is the day. I don't think there's time for that. But in terms of the second solar on the campus that's been discussed,
Yeah.
all of these other issues could be addressed as part of that. Because I don't think we have time to put it in writing today. And I understand that without this in writing today, you can't vote affirmatively for it. I get that. But I can't imagine that there's time to put this amendment together and change the acres and all that stuff right now.
Okay, right, through the chair, if I may.
Yes, yes.
Through you to Peter, politely, do you support the idea of preserving open space? And it's only 10, we have something like over 300 acres of land. That's what's given to me by Mr. Mullen. Thank you, Michael, for giving me that information. I mean, to save only 10 acres is a small amount. We could do well more than that, but would you be in favor of that, preserving open space and putting a covenant on that?
I'm open to it. I think it would be part of the second, I think it would be part of the second agreement, and I think the restrictions on it
Yeah.
should be not in perpetuity. I think they should be tied to this 20-year
Okay,
this 20-year contract. So when the 20-year contract comes up, it could be revisited.
we can tweak that. Okay. I mean, I like your idea of the trees, by the way. Kudos to you. That's a great idea. I'd love to see that in here. I mean, first and foremost, again, not to be, persistent, but I did not see anything in there about the hay. And I'm not doubting Andrew. Please don't take this the wrong way. All right. But I'm a lawyer. I don't see it in the contract. We got to put it in. So if we have to put something in, why not put a few other things in? That's where I was going with this. I kept thinking, well, we've got, we need to change this a little bit. Can we do it before, when's the next meeting? 4 o'clock or whatever it is, 5 o'clock? I mean,
I
can that
believe
be
it's
done?
3:30, but
Okay, I'm sorry. All right. So,
Mr. Chairman, can I speak to that issue?
absolutely. Attorney Lopez.
So with respect to the hay, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Bernstein, but those representations were made with respect to the Fisher Street ground mount, which has yet to be finalized.
okay,
So to the extent that's something we want to put in writing, we can still do that. This agreement has already been approved by DOER.
I
Any
see.
changes to it would require us to go back to DOER. If we go back to DOER, at this point, we then have to start all over. We have to do another appraisal. We have to offer it to the Commonwealth. We have to offer it to the town of Walpole. We have to have a public meeting, and then within 60 days of that public meeting, sign the contract. So what I respectfully submit is that to the extent there's some outstanding issues that are of your concern, Commissioner Stady, we can deal with those with the Fisher Street agreement.
Commissioner
Okay.
Stady.
I respect that. And I thank you, counsel. I always respect your opinions. I just feel that at the plan, as I said politely, I think it's a little bit too big. I really I would feel more comfortable if this was scaled back. I'm being honest. My father told me sometimes when you got a tough decision, go with your gut. My gut tells me when I woke up this morning, and I was wavering. I'll be honest. I looked at both sides, and it wasn't because of phone calls or emails. I want people to know I respect those viewpoints, and it's not a political game. I mean, I've got the luxury, and I'm very honest to be here. I'll be here for 4 years, I hope, unless there's a recall. But I mean, I hope to be here. But I mean, I'm looking at it in terms of what's the right thing. And I don't think at this time, taking almost 20 acres of land is probably the right thing. If you say to me 10 acres, okay, we can work with that because that still leaves land for haying and other things. It just seems too big. I'm sorry. That's my viewpoint. But like I said, I'm only one vote. And if you guys vote for it, trust me, I will support you and I'll work with you as best we can moving forward. You know that. So thank you. Thank you.
Commissioners, Peter, do you have any other comments?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, for myself, I must say, since I came here, well, I came late in 15 by appointment and then was elected in 16. But my first meeting or second meeting in 2016, I met an energy consultant. I met some teachers at the school, and solar was on the agenda. This is a meeting of the school trustees. It was new to me. The concept is not new to me in that I understand the basics of people having solar in their home. I understand what it does. I don't have a history. I don't have it on my house. Right away, I thought of all our buildings having solar panels on their roof, and quite frankly, and I kept it to myself, it was not inspiring. Since that time, there has not been a meeting, or you could count on one hand the amount of meetings, both of the school board particularly, but also the commissioners, that solar doesn't come into the conversation. I know a heck of a lot more about solar than I ever intended to know when I started. I've become an advocate of this project. I've read everything that I can. I've followed everything through the whole process. And I think, as Attorney Lopez said, that we've dotted all our i's, we've crossed the t's, and we followed the general laws, particularly section 14 of chapter 34. And I'm sure and I know we followed chapter 25A also. These other ideas sound palatable. They sound workable to me, but I have this fear that we're not going to perform on this portion of it, and that it's going to cost the county and the taxpayers of the county a lot more money than we're ever going to save if we don't perform and go forward on this portion of the contract. I will work with anyone from this day forward on the second parcel. We are only talking about Hilltop today, and that's what I think we need to address today. I think your ideas are excellent, Richard, on the surface of it, but I haven't looked into all of them either. Certainly cutting the size down. I think I know what the vendor will say. That's probably the big one. The others, I think, paying for the hay, et cetera. I'm sorry it's not in there, but I feel those things can easily be worked out. But as a lawyer, and it's to your credit that you pointed it out. But I really, since I'm the new chairman, and this is my second meeting, I feel an obligation to go forward today as outlined and everything.
Mr. Chairman,
Having
thank you.
said that,
Can I ask a question of council?
absolutely, Commissioner, sure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comments, and I respect you, obviously. So Scott, if we were looking at some of the comments that Peter made and I together of what we'd like to see moving forward, and we did that, you said for the second contract, right? I think that's what you were alluding to. How would that have any effect on this first contract? In other words, if I can see the restrictive easement, planting trees, the hay provision. It's not going to address my concern of the Hilltop being too big, but we could end up reducing the size of Fisher then, right? If we find other places to put the panels, as I suggested. Is that what you're saying? That we could end up with a smaller footprint on the Fisher? Am I in the right trending or am I not? Is that what you were saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. So
Okay.
Fisher Street is something that the hay issue was brought up. Since Kearsarge has cut back on the North Street project, hay is no longer an issue at that location. It's
Okay.
only with respect to Fisher Street. And so when we negotiate the Fisher Street contract, we can take that into consideration. As far as the size go, I think that's still somewhat subject of negotiation, depending on wetlands and other configurations to be determined.
Okay.
With respect to other locations within the county, behind the registry and other locations you mentioned,
Right.
that would have to be the subject of a request for qualifications, which is what we started with in this project more than 4 years ago.
Okay.
So to the extent that's something that the county is interested in, we can certainly move forward on that. And whether or not Kearsarge is the respondent that's awarded the contract will depend on who else bids.
Well stated. Yep.
With respect to the easement of conservation, for lack of a better word, the county can do that whenever it wants, on any land it wants. And that's also something that, should the board want to do that and instruct me to move forward on something like that, I will do that and bring it to the board's attention for approval.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. As always, clear and concise, Scott. Thank you. I think, Mr. Chairman, like I said, moving forward, we have a long way to go. And I would respectfully suggest that some of those ideas I suggested be looked at and discussed appropriately and incorporated if with the board's pleasure, obviously, as long as Peter's as well. I just regret I have to vote this so soon. I just got in office. I'm not using it as an excuse. I wish I had more time. I really do. I wish if I had more time working with all of us, I think we could have fashion something differently, but it is what it is. And I'm not one to abstain, so I will take a vote today, as you call it. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. On the motion of the contract award, Commissioner Collins, you stated it originally? Should we read it again in its entirety?
No,
Just 2
I
seconds.
stated it before. If you want, I'll read it again, but I'm fine with it and I vote yes.
Well, okay, I thought there was a second part, and I'm not sure I heard you read it.
I
I
thought it
have
might have to be done separately.
Yeah, the trees.
Okay,
If
So the
you
first
want,
one is-
I'll read
Go
them
ahead.
both together.
are we gonna take,
Okay, so let me read it. I'll read them both together.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, I'll read them both. My motion is that the Board of County Commissioners, by the power conferred by Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 34, Section 14, for good and valuable consideration, hereby votes to execute the Energy Management Services Agreement, EMSA, for a ground-mounted solar system with energy storage on certain parcels of land set forth in said agreement located at 1377 North Street, Walpole, Mass, by and between the County of Norfolk and Kearsarge Walpole LLC. And also move to adopt, ratify, and confirm all actions heretofore taken by the commissioners in connection with this matter, including without limitations, execution of a letter of intent dated 2/26/20 and approval of the pro forma EMSA on 9/23/20, which are the subject of the foregoing votes. That's my motion.
And
That's
that-
fine, and that's what I believe the motion to be. I wasn't sure whether we got the second part on the record. I want to be sure. Okay. A motion has been made and seconded. I'm going to take the vote now, and I'm going to take a roll call vote. On the motion as presented, Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Stady,
Respectfully and regretfully, no.
and I, Commissioner Shea, am going to vote yes. This motion is adopted on a 2-to-1 vote. Thank you very much. This concludes the matter of Hilltop Farms for today. We have no other items on our agenda. We have
Mike, I thought,
a further meeting later today with the school board. That will be held, I believe, at 3 p.m. today. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
On the motion to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
I think you
Aye,
need a
that's
roll call.
unanimous.
Joe, you need a roll call, Joe.
On adjournment,
I think you need a
Okay.
roll call.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Collins. Commissioner Collins, Commissioner Stady,
You got to hide on this, Peter.
Yes.
I'm doing it next time. Aye, I'll vote yes.
and I'll vote yes. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.